to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Alfred.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Alfred.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and I see everyone in here tonight. It's so nice to see you all. And Connie S. I saw Show Poodles, Astrology for Mystics with Jen, and Tom Chat Cafe. It's so good to see all of you guys tonight, and it's Saturday, so happy Saturday to everyone out there. So tonight I want to talk about poof, children vanishing, right? So we have two little ones in Nova Scotia, which is in Canada. And we have Sebastian Rogers, who is still missing out of Tennessee. And I thought that we would talk about both cases tonight. Last night, we had a lot of clips to go through, kind of getting acquainted with Lily and Jack's story. And so tonight, I would like to take some time out to go over some of the things that I wanted to go over last night about Sebastian's case, mainly when we're talking about the crawl space, right? And if it's possible that Sebastian could have been taken out of the crawl space, uh, out of the house that way, right? To avoid the fence. Because I always kind of wondered how they got around the fenced yard. Again, in this story with little Lily and Jack, we see the same thing when it comes to a yard that's completely fenced in, or as it appears, the sliding glass door they would have left out of is seemingly, it looks like it's a safe, secured backyard. I know there is a way out of the fence, of course, and you know, kids like to climb, so some kids could climb. But either way, there was a fence. So I'd like to discuss all of that with you guys tonight. And I hope you guys are all having a great Mother's Day weekend. Thanks, Sound Chat Cafe. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much. Everyone here too, including pet moms for tomorrow. That's so true, right? Yeah, I'm definitely more of a pet mom these days since my daughter is grown. So, but yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mamas. Connie S says, "Ah, that's so sweet." Yeah, guys, and I hope you all have a chance to relax and spend time with, your kids or the ones that you love or your pets. I hope you do something special for yourself tomorrow. And I will be on tomorrow night, so I want to make up for lost time this week. So I would really enjoy doing that with you guys. So I will be on tomorrow night, since I wasn't on my regularly scheduled programming this last week. It's just been tough. And then also, we've been dealing with some family stuff with our baby. I'll call her our baby and leave it at that. So, but thanks, Show Poodles. Thank you so much. Yeah, Miss Ann, I heard that you all had an earthquake, or people had earthquakes today. So I've never been in an earthquake before. I think they'd be kind of scary. And I wouldn't want any of my little knickknacks to fall over and break or anything like that. So, but you said a 4.1 magnitude earthquake. Wow. That's crazy. I hope you guys are okay and not shook up from it, literally. It is, yeah, I show poodles. I think it's scary too. So let's talk a little bit about the crawl space. And I prepared kind of just I just pretty much Googled it, y'all. I looked at the crawl spaces and I thought, okay, let's see. This one seems like it's maybe average. So this is, and I've posted this on my community wall and that. And don't pay attention to that part. I just didn't take that out apparently. But this is going to be your run-of-the-mill crawl space that you can find on Google. And you can see it's kind of elevated with cinder blocks, right? And then you have the under side of the house, right? The crawl space. So if we're looking at it this way, some homes have interior ways of getting into the crawl space. Hey, Courtney Morris, good to see you. You found it to be exciting. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and so I think it is possible. I've asked a couple of other people what they think too, if they think it's possible that someone could, bring somebody through this crawl space area. And I wanted to know what you guys think. And I know that our friend Sasha had come in and had, quite a bit of knowledge because she talked to an expert on the subject. But I just kind of thought, well, if Sebastian is in Virginia, which we're not sure if he is or if he isn't in Virginia, but how did he get out of the house? And so I think that's something that we can, discuss and kind of ponder while we're figuring out whether Sebastian is in fact in Virginia right now. And if you guys didn't get a chance to see it, I could always replay it because I do have it still saved. I personally think there's a little bit too many differences, but I also think that, anything is possible. And of course, as we grow, we change a little bit here and there. So, oh, sure thing, Connie. Yes, I will play it. So this is the sighting. Now this was sent. This was put in a Facebook group, right? And then somebody sent it to law enforcement. So it did eventually get to law enforcement, but here we go.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. Today I wanted to bring awareness to a possible sighting of Sebastian Rogers in Bristol, Virginia. It is said he was seen outside of a Valero gas station off of Route 7. As you can see from this picture, this is on the bus route, so it looks like he could have had a way to get to this location, or someone may have brought him there and dropped him off. Either way, I'm sure his father Seth will follow up on this lead to the fullest and let us know if it is Sebastian or if it isn't. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and we will talk about it tonight live. Let's watch.
I was just sent this video and I really want to get this out there. There was a potential sighting of Sebastian Rogers in Bristol, Virginia. The video was taken outside of a Valero gas station off exit 7. What do you guys think? Do you think this could be Sebastian Rogers? I did send this into the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, and obviously we're going to have to just wait and see if they can vet that and figure out what is going on with that and if that could be Sebastian Rogers. I will say that if you feel like you are seeing someone who is a missing person, put your phone down, don't record, keep your eye on them and call authorities right away, because this could have been figured out if this was Sebastian or not hours ago had that been done.
Okay guys, so I just wanted to pop on really quick. I can't agree more with what this TikToker is saying. I think that if you see something, say something at that time, call the authorities. Do not wait. Do not record it and send it to YouTubers, TikTokers, or the like. Make sure that you tell law enforcement so we can make sure that we find out right away whether it's Sebastian or not. I personally don't think that it is Sebastian. There are just too many little differences that I can notice, but that doesn't mean that it's not. So I'll see you all later on tonight, and let's talk about how Sebastian could have gotten out of the house in the first place.
I can't wait to see my son. I want to find him so bad.
No way, Kimosabe. This is my house now.
Okay, guys, so that was the sighting that was put out, and that was in Bristol, Virginia, off of exit 7. at a Valero gas station. And Connie S says it kind of looks like him. And, you know, I think so too, Connie. I think it does kind of look like Sebastian. It's really hard to tell. I tried to get a good, you know, side by side of Sebastian facing the same direction as the boy in the video. But the Texas Roadhouse one was probably the closest one that I could get, but that sign was in the way. So it's kind of hard to tell, but they do look like the same build. And, you know, we still haven't found out yet whether it is in fact Sebastian or not. Of course, you know, I'm always trying to keep the hope. But I just always like to be honest, whether, you know, what I think or what I don't, you know, just kind of to give you guys a good idea of what my opinion is. But that doesn't mean that I'm correct by any way of, you know, stretch of the imagination. Town Chat Cafe says he looks close, but in my opinion, it's not. But I would love to be incorrect and would love to learn that it is. Yeah, that's really well said, Town Chat Cafe. I bet, in my opinion, he might be walking to the extended stay hotel or another hotel or home close by. I'm glad you brought that up too, because that was another thing that we kind of saw on the map yesterday was the hotels that were all in the area right there. And then, you know, with it looking like there are buses that come through the area and travelers and things like that, the hotels being located right there. Absolutely. There was a Motel 6 as well, I believe. And his eye says, I don't think, or his eye 7, excuse me, says, I don't think it's Sebastian. Sebastian looks like he has longer strides when he walks. I agree. And you're absolutely right. It looks like the other person in the video was kind of, you know, going faster, shorter strides. Absolutely. And somebody said last night, more flat-footed was the way that, you know, and I agreed there too. It didn't look like the same way that we saw Sebastian walking in the Texas Roadhouse video. Although I did see when he was more focused, he was, you know, and walking slower. Also, the videos too, with the speed of the videos is a little different because I believe one is at normal speed, and I think the Texas Roadhouse one is slowed down just a little bit there. But yeah, great observations, guys. Thank you. Hopefully, it's hard to tell. Yeah, it is. I hope so too, Connie S. And, you know, I mean, you know, I think even going back to what we were talking about last night, like based on statistics, what's most likely to happen, you know, unless there is some evidence out there that we know about and that we receive that is, you know, convincing, you know, overwhelming, something like that. Otherwise, and of course we always have to consider the exacerbating factors as well. So there's always that. But I'm just wondering, I think when we look back at the lights and how Sebastian could have left the house, I'm thinking that there are only a few different scenarios that would work, especially if we're thinking about the placement of different cameras in the neighborhood and what they may have picked up depending on what route was taken. And of course, we know that there is a ditch there that can kind of conceal a little bit too, right? Because you're going into lower ground as well. So I'm just thinking about lower ground. But of course, as soon as I get an update, I will make a quick video, post it on my community wall. I post a lot of things on my community wall, so always go over there and check it out. You know, and I'll definitely keep you updated on whether it's Sebastian or not. But, you know, it never ceases to amaze me because in all of these stories, we hear very similar details, right? We're hearing similar details when it comes to these two missing children, Lily and Jack. And I find it very interesting, interesting to say the least, that the children are always playing right before they just poof, disappear. And I wanted to show you all kind of the video that I made earlier today and posted, so you can go watch the full thing if you don't want to, again, watch on the live. I always try to do that as much as possible, too, just so you can watch a quick version as well. But let's explore kind of the area where Lily and Jack played, because we did get a chance to see their play area. Now, we didn't get to see the inside, but it looks like the Nova Scotia news station was able to take us through, and I kind of slowed everything down and pointed out some little oddities that I found. So here's that.
I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time.
Lily and Jack Sullivan are still missing, and it appears they went missing from a yard that's completely fenced off. But after taking a closer look at the yard and the surrounding areas on the property, I wanted to see what you all think of the children's playhouse. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a traditional tree fort that you may see, but the contents inside the fort are what I'm really worried about. Let's watch.
Basically, there's not much else to say other than the search for Lily and her brother Jack continues here and around these woods and these deep woods in the Lansdowne area.
I stand convinced that some people who walk among us, yes, some human beings who walk among us are what monsters are made of. They're not just in stories or in movies. They are definitely real life adaptations of the true monsters who roam this earth. Upon further review of the living conditions of the children, minus the insides of the buildings where they lived or where they would have frequented, I have come to the very grim conclusion that something much more nefarious happened to these children. And I have to say, just looking at where they were playing in their yard, it's a little creepy as we come up on what looks to be like a pen, but upon closer review, it looks like there is nothing in the pen. It looks like something that was used for punishment, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's definitely creepy. Like I said, this looks like it might be a horror flick or something, but it's not. It's actual footage from the yard where Lily and Jack Sullivan went missing on May 2nd, 2025. They've been missing over a week now, and as you can see, this pen is sitting on what appears to be a hill, and so it does go on a downward slant, which would make it extremely difficult to get out of. Anyone else getting Buffalo Bill vibes? It puts the lotion on the skin precious. Anyone? Bueller. Anyone? Obviously creepy in my opinion. As the reporter nears the tree fort, we see a tire with 2 whiteboards on either side of the tire. It looks like it may be a little table set up, but it doesn't have a top on the table, so it's very odd in my opinion as well. We are nearing the tree fort and we see a big orange pail. And as we get closer, there are really no remnants that children play in this fort. There appears to be some sort of machinery and perhaps a black bag of some sort in the corner. It's, again, a tree fort that you would see that is very rustic and is just kind of put together with the tree branches, and it's not really closed off from any of the elements or anything like that. It doesn't look very kid-friendly, and it also doesn't look very safe. Okay, now I want you to pay attention as we take a peek inside the tree fort. It looks like an old bottle of water, and then as we approach, we can see some sort of orange ties. Also, all the way to the left, you can see some sort of yard equipment. What happened to little Lily and Jack Sullivan? How come the stories never match up, and how come we see the same patterns over and over again when it comes to missing children? Come join the conversation tonight with Lady Freedom, 11 p.m. Eastern Time.
No idea. I had no idea. I'm still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. Happened to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet, and we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, "Do you hear the kids?" And he says, "No." And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone.
Okay, guys, so that was just like a little mashup that I did with the mob crew. He had the timeline kind of made up and, based on, of course, what research he did. So I wanted to thank them for that at the end. Same with Deception Detective. Since we've been reviewing his analysis too. Hey, Detroit Rock City, good to see you. And Little Miss Sharon, so nice to see you guys. Happy Mother's Day early. I guess it's Mother's Day weekend. So these children, the last time they were seen was April 29th. The bus driver dropped them off, right? According to Brian Ward, the bus driver. And then they were reported missing on May 2nd. I was going over some of last night's live just to kind of get an idea of what we were talking about and kind of getting some more ideas, because sometimes I'll say, oh, let me look into that. And so I was kind of scrolling through to find out what all I was going to be, what I was promising that we would go over. And one was the interview with the bus driver, right? And the bus driver, Mr. Ward, is really beside himself because of what is going on in this case. He has little ones that ride the bus as well with Lily and Jack, and they were friends. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can't pull in. the bus driver. He's back here behind me. So let me pull him in on the overlay. There we go. And so, there's Mr. Ward. He's putting, Lily and Jack's name badges up there, right? Or wrote the names on the card and put them above their seat. And I'm going to read you the interview. I have it here uploaded, but I just find it to be really sad because if the last time he dropped Lily and Jack off was the 29th on the bus, basically they haven't been seen till May 2nd, right? And then we haven't found them. No one knows where they are or what happened to them. And apparently this all happened, around 10 a.m. They were reported missing. So sometime after 8 a.m., they realized the kids were missing. Daniel ran into the woods to search for Lily and Jack, and the mother called 911 sometime around 9:30 a.m. And SAR arrived at 10 a.m. So that's kind of a generalized timeline. Although I do not like the timeline. We talked about that last night, and I don't like the timeline. I don't think it fits. I don't think it matches up with what is going on here. I just don't. And, I don't like the looks of the pen. I think the pen kind of looks like a punishment or something like that. We also see the two tires, the tire with the two white boards on either side of it. And if it had like a little wooden tabletop thing on it or something like that, I might think it was a little picnic table that maybe the kids used to sit out there at, if this was in fact where they like to play. But it was just weird because that wasn't the case. And then we go on and we see this orange bucket. We also see that the structure isn't very safe. It's also not very kid friendly. And there are no remnants of children in there, right? We don't see toys or anything, one of Jack's cars, maybe a Tonka truck or something like that. One of Lily's dolls out there, anything. And it just doesn't look like it's very safe for the kids to be in, right? And then also we see just a random bottle of water. And then what's really terrifying, in my opinion, is this board that looks kind of the same style of a board that you would see over by the tires, right? The two little slabs that you see by the tire. But then we see this larger board. It's a big flat board. And then we see these two orange ties on the board. Also, some sort of machinery, like a weed whacker or something like that. Hey, Baba Rose, good to see you. Welcome in, everyone. Hey, I Scorpio 1, good to see you. Hey, VW Holla Girl, nice to see all you guys coming in. Hey, Kathy Bartholomew. Town Chat Cafe says, in my opinion, supposedly, from what I understand, they were not in school either 2 days prior of them being reported missing. Has anyone else heard about that or something along the lines of that information? Yeah, I've heard the same thing. So the last time they were dropped off was on the 29th on the school bus, according to their bus driver, Brian Ward. And one thing I wanted to say too, that we read a post last night, and it basically said that the mother was drug tested, and then the baby went with the mother to her mother's house, right? So we're kind of up to date with that. And I was thinking, if she would have tested positive for anything, then there's no way they probably would have let the baby go with. I mean, that's just my guess and my speculation. But, to the best of my knowledge, that wouldn't happen, right? She would have been separated, or meant to go get some help of some sort, right? We're still unclear what was actually found or whose, paraphernalia was found. Now, it was found in multiple places, according to the source that we read yesterday. And, who knows if it's true or not, but there were also other people living on the property, like the brother. of Daniel's brother and his mother, right? So there were a couple of people living on the property. So there's that. Who knows what belonged to who, and they didn't specify. We do see her over explaining though, and we do see her setting the stage for an abduction, in my opinion. So just a lot of really, again, red flags, and it is really creepy, Connie S. Yeah, it is. It's very creepy and doesn't look like any place a kid would play, right? Because kids like bright colors, and they may have brought in like a little table or something to sit in there, or just something. Maybe you would see like an old set, like cooking set or something. I don't know, but it didn't look like a playhouse like you would see, maybe kids' items in there. It was very strange, and a lot of that area back there looked as if it was like out of a horror movie. I mean, it didn't look like it was kid friendly at all. I get kids have an imagination, and if you put a tree fort out there for them, they're probably going to enjoy it. But again, I didn't see any evidence that there were kids out there ever. Little Miss Sharon says, my daughter gave me a Wonder Woman card for Mother's Day. Oh, how sweet, Little Miss Sharon. That's fantastic. Aw, that's so sweet. And Scorpio 1 says, the aunt again said they aren't verbal, but mom says they are. Also, the fence has openings that they could probably get through. It's all so sad. Yeah, I noticed that some of the fencing wasn't kind of up to par, right? Like it looked like it was easy to get through. I see what you're saying too. Let me pull one in here. Like even the one that you see kind of at the top corner, top right corner of the screen there. And then there's apparently an opening kind of not far from where you would exit the deck from the sliding glass door. So there are a lot of, and then of course, I don't know, it looks like there may be a way through that little barn too. I mean, there's a tarp. I mean, yeah, it definitely doesn't look like it would be hard to get out of. And, we also have to think too, little kids, when they're exploring, they might decide. But then again, the mother stated that they weren't really kids that would wander off. And if they're in a fenced yard, it's kind of odd to me that they would decide to go off and leave the yard, if that's not typical. But we don't know, what's being said, is the truth, or what's being said is being untruthful. We're not really quite sure yet. But thanks, Scorpio 1. I appreciate you. And, well, Anne, we're going to make sure you have a happy Mother's Day, because you're going to have to come over here, and we're going to have to cheer you up. So, and Connie S says, it sounds strange to me. I agree, Connie S. It does. It's all strange. And again, we see these patterns when we talk about missing children, right? I'm just waiting for there to be some sort of history of ABUSE, because in a lot of the pictures, again, I see marks on the kids. Not necessarily, I haven't noticed any particularly on Lily that I can recall, but I do notice that Jack has a few. And again, he's a boy. We'll set the stage for that. Thank you, Baba Rose. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. But yeah, it's just something's not right, and it just seems like they were obviously sleeping in way too late for someone who has two little ones running around, right? Because you just don't get that luxury, and most parents understand that. That's just not really in the cards. An astrology for Miss Six with Jen says, Lily took her backpack. Was she and Jack going to school? Were their parents neglectful? Yeah, I do think they were neglectful. Absolutely, Jen. And the reason why is because, um, let's see here. Okay, here's one that Mob had come up with, right? Or Chris, excuse me, at Mob Crew. Lily and Jack Sullivan attended Salt Springs Elementary School. The stepdad claims that they did not go to school on Friday because Lily had a cough. So just because Lily had a cough, Jack missed school. And their mother said that they have not been diagnosed with autism, but they have trouble catching up with their classmates. But if they're missing school because one or the other has a cough, then I think that's probably what the issue is, and it might not be attributed to something like autism. But we'll hear from the bus driver and what he has to say about Lily and Jack, and kind of his interpretation of and how he viewed them, from his point of view. And it also says rumors claim that they haven't been to school since the beginning of the week, right? So, and Friday it was May 2nd. So it sounds like they missed Wednesday and Thursday, in my opinion. Like they were dropped off Tuesday, and then, yeah. So, and then we also have the fact that the stepfather, Daniel, only saw Lily that morning wearing pink boots and pink shirt with her white backpack that did have strawberries on it. And then we just kind of a recap here, which was really nice. So again, thanks to Chris at Mob Crew. Lily and Jack are Malaya's kids with another father. The stepfather, Daniel, and the mother, Malaya Brooks Murray. And then Daniel and Malaya started dating 3 years ago. Daniel moved in 2 years ago, and they have an 18-month-old. Now, again, I think that baby is between a year and probably 16 months old, from what I've heard. But again, shout out for kind of putting it into a visual. I'm a very visual person. Forget Me Not, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, I'm so sorry, Denise, for your loss. Hey, Pale Rider. Oh, goodness. I'm so sorry, Denise. Thank you for being here. And I hope that we can, bring you a little bit of enjoyment today. But I'm so sorry. No toys is weird. I agree, Connie S. No toys is weird. Where are the kids, and any of the toys? And even when we look at some of the pictures of the yard, it's like the toys haven't been played with. They're just kind of like, strewn all over the yard. Thanks, little Miss Sharon. How sweet. Yeah. Oh, exactly. Not kid friendly. Kanye S says almost like they use the same playbook. I mean, it's so weird. We see all of these similarities, and then also some of the verbiage they use is the same. It's really, you know, amazing to me, really. Who sleeps late with the kids? Who can sleep late with kids? Who can sleep late with kids? They're running around. They're playing, they're laughing, they're banging around. The TV's loud. I mean, and you also have to watch what they're doing because they can get into things and hurt themselves. Hey, Lizzie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. And Baba Rose says, Lizzie, did you see where Mama opened her Facebook again? Or, excuse me, lady. Did you see where Mama opened her Facebook again and changed her status to single? Who does that with your 2 children missing? Oh, boy. No, I did not notice that, Baba Rose. That's interesting. Well, and if I thought that my significant other had something to, because she calls him the partner, we weren't sure if he was, common law. But I would change my I would change my status too and be like, I kicked that guy to the curb, especially if, maybe she thinks he has involvement. Right now I think it's too early to tell, but it's hard to tell really, because like I said, she's over explaining. Do I think that she's on rugs or anything? No, I don't. I don't get that vibe off of this mother that she is on any kind of rugs or anything like that. And I may be wrong. But they did test her, and I think that's why she still has her baby. Now, she's over explaining. That's a super big red flag to me. Also, when we look at her setting the stage, oh, they'll talk to anyone. And then, of course, we hear people saying nonverbal. They'll talk to anyone. You know, it's like, which one is it? Because it can only be one or the other, because that is one extreme to the other, right? It's nonverbal is one over here, you know, and then obviously talking someone's ear off is another. When we don't see these consistencies in their statements, it always causes us to pause as well. Hey, Miss Sarah C, good to see you. I hope you had a great day at work today. Thanks for coming over. Yeah. Too many different timelines and stories, in my opinion, Town Chat Cafe. It's just not adding up. And, you know, and they're so little. They're just so little, guys. You know, 4 and 6. And, you know, most kids are scared to go and, you know, venture out like that. Now, some children are more adventurous. I understand. And we don't really know much about Lily and Jack, but you know, most of the time it's a big world to a little person, right? Because they're so tiny. And it's just so sad. Hey, Lori. Hey, Sammy. And Detroit Rock City says on May 3rd, the mother and stepdad were giving an update, and the mother walked away and sat in the back of the ambulance shortly after she left with her mother. She has not spoken to the stepdad since. Wow, interesting. Thanks, Detroit Rock City. Yeah, so, I mean, there's that. And I've heard the same thing. I heard there was, you know, a lot of back and forth going on with the family and blaming. And, you know, that can be looked at in a couple of different ways. I think it would be more natural than not. But that's just me, you know. Yeah, I think it'd be more natural than not. Especially if, you know, again, like I said, it's just like if somebody drank up all the milk and put like that much left in there and then put it in the refrigerator, and it was just you and another person, and you're like, well, I know I didn't do that, so it had to have been the other person, right? Because again, you know, it wouldn't be like a ghost or an apparition coming in drinking the milk. So it's got to be one or the other. So I can understand where if there's innocent parties there, why they would, you know, kind of try to, you know, break away from, you know, one another. You know, so something is not right. And again, I don't like the timeline. It's not making sense at all. But let's do this. I have the interview with the bus driver, and we'll get to read that. So give me 1 second here. Let's see. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I have them in good order. Okay, so let's start with this one. So this is by Lindsay Jones and Greg Mercer, right? This came out May 8th, 2025. Bus driver Brian Ward shows where the missing children, Jack 4 and Lily Sullivan 6, sat on the bus on May 8th of 2025, right? So that's when the interview happened. And this is kind of just a look at the area, right? We have Lansdowne where the kids are, where the kids live, right? And then we have the children's home. And then, of course, we see all of the other kind of areas around that area. And then every day this week, the children aboard a big yellow bus peered out the window as they passed the white trailer on the side of Garlick Road. Have they found Jack and Lily yet? They asked the bus driver, Brian Ward, every afternoon. Not yet, Mr. Ward said. He told the children the police are doing everything that they can. Lily and Jack's seat in the front to the right has an empty seat with their names taped above it since April 29th, when Mr. Ward last dropped them off at the end of their driveway. After school, right? So, and you can see him in the back putting that little note up on their empty seat. It says, sorry, that one's a little bit little. The case of the missing siblings, 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan, who disappeared from their home without a trace nearly a week ago, has rocked the rural, sparsely populated community of Lansdowne, northeast of Halifax in Pictou County. I'm devastated. I'm absolutely devastated, said Mr. Ward, whose children Nicholas Carr, 4, and Troy Carr, 7, are friends with Lily and Jack and often sit with them on the bus ride home from the school. I can't even sleep at night. So poor Mr. Ward, and he's got little ones that ride with Jack and Lily. The same ages, really, 4 and 7. Searchers tape marks in an area just meters from the home of missing siblings Jack 4 and Lily Sullivan 6 in Pictou County on May 8th. We saw those same in Sebastian's case. On Wednesday, RCMP called off a search to find rescue teams who had been scouring the thick woods for 6 days, saying it's unlikely that the 2 missing children in the rural Nova Scotia are still alive. Now police say they're zeroing in on a smaller specific search areas and investigating possible criminal elements. On Thursday, major crime investigators arrived at the rundown mobile home to speak to Daniel Martell, 33, who described himself as the Globe and the Mail. To the Globe and the Mail as his children's stepfather. They were there to ask for electronic devices to help collaborate timelines. He told the Globe earlier that day that the RMCP have defended their decision to issue an Amber Alert in the case, arguing that the investigation did not meet the criteria, which includes the belief that the child has been abducted or is in grave danger. The Mounties also declined to discuss the stepfather's claims that divers were called in Thursday to search nearby Lansdowne Lake and confirm a report that tracking dogs had followed the kids' ascent to the end of the family's driveway. To ensure the integrity of the investigation, no further details will be released at this time, Nova Scotia RCMP spokesperson Allison Gerard said. So, they're scaled back. The kids attend Salt Springs Elementary, a small rural school about 20-minute bus ride from their home that serves 86 children from the communities across southern Pictou County. The school has been provided with psychologists, counselors, and other school board support staff to help staff members and students with questions and providing calm coping strategies during this difficult time. So that's good, and that's Jennifer Rogers said, and that she is the Chintu Central Regional Center for Education spokesperson. So that's great that they're getting them all help, because it's got to be really confusing, especially for the little ones, Mr. Ward said he headed into the woods on his ATV to look for Lily and Jack as soon as he heard that the children had been reported missing on the morning of May 2nd. RCMP have said that they believe that the children wandered away from their home. He described the kids as full of life, always smiling and laughing. Lily would let out these high-pitched squeals, he said. I'd get after her all the time. Lily, you can't be doing that. He also described her as a bit of a drama queen. If she had a sore foot, she'd say her foot was broken, he said with a laugh. Just sometimes they fell asleep on the way home from school, but more often than not was chatty. He'd say, bus driver, Mr. Ward recalled. So little Jack would fall asleep on the bus sometimes. Just precious little kids. Okay, so let's go on. Mr. Ward said he headed into the woods. Sorry. I must have read all of that one before before it was over with. So again, he's just recalling the relationship that he had with the kiddos on the bus and remembering Jack and Lily. Um, it's just so sad. RCMP says it's unlikely the two children uh, in the rural area of Nova Scotia are alive, and search efforts were scaled back. If he was trying to talk to you and he couldn't get your attention, the little bugger would take his take his boot off and throw it at you. Jack is famous for throwing his boots at me. Inside the family's trailer, paintings and awards hang in a small, well-worn kitchen. In one piece of art, Lily says her mom makes cupcakes, plays with toys, and watches movies. I love my mom, she wrote neatly in pencil. There's also a red painting by Jack of an insect. Family members have said he loves to dig for worms and turn over pieces of wood to look for bugs. And, his stepfather said that he does love looking for bugs and he enjoys the bugs. And so does Lily. He described them as being best friends. I think it's absolutely so sweet that Lily wrote her mom something so lovely. And that her mommy makes her cupcakes, plays with her, watches movies, and that she loves her mom. Really, really sweet. And then here's Jack's artwork right here. Art on the wall in the home of the missing siblings Jack 4 and Lily 6 in Pictou County. Along the densely wooded section of Galich Road, sorry if I said that wrong, with no immediate neighbors, the only traffic is usually logging trucks. The children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, and Mr. Martell moved into the home about 2 years ago. She left for the weekend with her and Mr. Martell's 16-month-old daughter to be with her mother and hasn't returned, he said. So she has definitely left. And we know that neighbor is probably a troll, especially due to this news article. And I think it was Detroit Rock City or someone last night. Maybe it was I Am Too Bear. If I can't recall, guys, I'm sorry. But they were saying the same thing, that that was probably false information from the neighbor. It also says that Mrs. Brooks Murray, is a member of a nation. I am not going to botch this First Nation. Previously told reporters her children were both diagnosed with autism and struggled in school. She has declined further interview requests and has removed her accounts from social media. Mi'kmaq, I think Mi'kmaq communities leadership has urged people not to spread rumors and add fuel to the rampant speculation about the case circulating online. A woman who answered Mrs. Brooks Murray's phone Thursday said she couldn't discuss the missing children, but said that the mother's relationship with Mr. Martell had ended. Mr. Martell confirmed that he has been unable to get in touch with her and that she's blocked him on social media. Okay, so it looks like, she has blocked Mr. Martell and has decided to ghost Mr. Martell on social media and the like. And, they're asking for people not to listen to the rumors, too. So, of course, that always is going to happen, though. A neighbor who lives about a kilometer away up the road and grew up with Mr. Martell said her 3-year-old daughter has attended birthday parties with Lily and Jack, and she said she's heartbroken that no trace of the children has turned up. To think that the kids are lost in the woods is just heartbreaking, she said. This is hitting really close to home, really close to home. Right. And I mean, it would, especially if you knew these children, like the bus driver, like this real neighbor that we're hearing from the news. It's just absolutely heartbreaking. And here's a picture of the children's toys. Dot the woods, just meters from the home of missing siblings Jack 4 and Lily Sullivan 6 in Pictou County. So a couple different buckets. In this case, this one's blue, and it looks kind of like one you would use to make a sandcastle. But I didn't see if they had, one of those big, like a sandbox or anything like that. And then there's Mr. Ward, Brian Ward. And then there's the area again where the children live. So, sorry guys, I had to get a little bit closer there to read. So, hey, Lil Redo. Hey, Bless. Good to see everyone coming in. Hey, Steven. Good to see you guys. Let me get to some of these comments here. So just a lot of good information. Again, mainstream media doesn't have it all, but it seems like they went out and interviewed actual people, and we're not just getting like random text messages, things like that. So hopefully they are little darlings, aren't they? Little Miss Sharon. It's just, oh my goodness. I can't believe it. And Detroit Rock City says someone put out earlier that Daniel and the mother's brother had a 16-year-old held a 16-year-old captive and force-fed her nose stuff. She was assaulted and abused. Oh my gosh, the girl got away and went to LE. This happened a year ago. Oh boy. So Daniel and the mother's brother, which would be Daniel's uncle, held a 16-year-old captive and forced her to do, assaulted. Oh boy. I did not hear that, Detroit. That's disgusting. Did you see that playhouse? The tree fort? Weird. Hey, Little Redo. Stephen McHale says, I think they're either in someone's house or inside something in the ground. Search would have found them by now with the dogs. Yeah, I heard that there was a large presence at the property, is what people were coming in saying last night in chat. Thanks, Stephen, for your comment. Thanks for being here. And Bless says a 4-year-old famous for throwing his boot at you to get your attention. This little boy has stolen my heart. I know, Bless. Isn't it so cute, right? So cute. And then Lily shrieking. I mean, could you imagine him driving the bus? He's like, you can't be doing that, Lily. I mean, they're just, full of life and just, oh gosh, just rambunctious little kids, Sometimes Jack would fall asleep on the bus. Lil Redo says, I wish they would not label these babies claiming they have autism without a real diagnosis. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely, Lil Redo. I think that if the children were to attend school regularly, then they would be not behind in classes, not behind their peers. I think that's the issue there. Absolutely. I agree. You think somebody, that something happened and someone is covering it up? I'm interested to see. They said they were flying polygraphers in. So we'll have to see, we'll have to see what happens there. I would love to know. I'm doing great, Little Redo. Thank you for asking. Detroit Rock City says Smiley put out a short clip that tells more about the area and this family. It was going too fast to read it. Maybe you can slow it down so we can read it. Okay, let me take a look and see. I will do that. I love Smiley. I go over and check her out all the time. I was working on this stuff today though, because this case is very interesting. And how far could these two little angels, have gotten. What are we doing here? It's crazy, for us to believe that they just walked off, because they would have been found by now. I mean, it's like Sebastian too, although he's older, right? But like, still, his reasoning why he wouldn't make it far is because he wasn't wearing any shoes, allegedly, according to Chris and Katie, right? So Lil Redo says, I wish to, oh, sorry, wrong one. I went too far back in the chat. Okay. The mother of the kid's younger brother, sorry. Okay, the mother of the kid's younger brother, okay, had done this with this woman. Not even a woman, 16 is still a child, in my opinion. The mother of, okay, wow. I'm gonna have to look at that. Sammy says, was Maleha, I know that's not the right spelling, brothers, Hayden and the stepdad, mom's brother. I'm not sure about the family deep dive. I am not sure. I think it's important in a case like this to do that and to find out who all, especially who was on the property, right? Starting there would be a good start. It just really looked like that property was not meant for kids at all, so, oh, thank you, little Miss Sharon. Thank you so much. How sweet. And Cinderella says, there are quite a few kids missing around this area, 5 including these kids, 1 adult, just at first glance. Really, Cinderella? That's interesting. So quite a few kids missing around the area. Very interesting. And again, guys, we are reporting on a story up in Nova Scotia, right, which is up in Canada. And, there's that. So other missing. And, we don't hear about a lot of these cases because, we're in a different country, but very interesting because we're so close that, they could have taken the kids anywhere, right, over to America as well, even though our borders are tighter than they were, thankfully. And Rosebud says some of these rug users use others by force to take the substance first before they make sure it's not laced with fentanyl. Oh, wow. It's becoming not so rare. I wonder if these poor kids got into it. Well, Rosebud, thank you so much for your comment. And I agree that that's very possible. We were talking about that last night and how it only takes a little tiny bit, and it absorbs through your system, or through your skin even. So it gets into your system quickly, especially for a little one. It could really hurt them or take their life. Thanks, Rosebud. Thanks for being here, hon. Yeah, it's oof. Detroit Rock City says the mother of the girl posted it and charges were brought and a restraining order was issued. Wow. Okay. My, oh my. So Daniel's a creep, apparently, right? Wow. I don't know, Lil Redo. Why don't they put a demand out for KP and produce the child or arrest her just like they did Lori Vallow? I wish they would. I do. I really wish they would. Because again, Sebastian deserves so much better. So much better. I say that if you don't have enough for that, you should at least bring her in on child abuse, or whoever you can in that scenario. Of course, we don't know what was exactly in the CPS reports or anything like that. So, of course, this is all alleged in our opinion. But I will reiterate again what Seth has told us on one of his lives, that if we knew what was in the CPS reports, that we wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And let's not forget that there are also reports from counselors that, Sebastian was going and telling the counselors in his own words and the way that he was feeling from his heart. And there, I don't think that Seth would be upset with Chris or Katie if there wasn't something valid in those reports, and that's my opinion. You know, because they do. Sebastian deserves justice. The fact that they have gone missing are in time frame of the 2020 to now. Wow, Cinderella. Okay, so wow, 5 missing since 2020. So that's about on average 1 person a year in the same area. Wow. And Miss Ann says, I'm getting so sick with all these parents that are doing this to the children. If they don't want them taken from them somehow, I'm sorry, want them taken somewhere, they will take care of them and they can bring them to me. I will take care of them. Aw, that's so sweet of you, Miss Ann. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. There's so many parents that can't have babies, or, or maybe they've had babies when they were younger and they don't mind adopting more kids and things like that. And there's so many good people out there. I agree. I know. And I get so upset with it too, because look how cute, and Sebastian too. I mean, I don't think Chris and Katie realized what a gift that they had with Sebastian. Seemed like they wanted him gone all the time and, don't bug us and, kind of a thing, which is just terrible. Aw, thank you, Lil Redo. Oh, thanks so much for your super chat. She says, I love coming into Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives. All my rowdy night owl friends are here with me. That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I try to go on so early, guys, and then I end up coming on late. So, but I love being here with all of you guys, and, and everybody, like little Miss Sharon, she's in Australia, so it's different time for her. I think there's a big chance that the children may have gotten into their rugs. Yeah, I think so too, little Miss Sharon. That's one of my top, because I'm beginning to think, right, we're over 8 days, we're into 8 days, 9 now technically for me. I'm on the East Coast. So yeah, I think that it's very possible that it could have been a situation like that. Possibly someone who was at the party hurt these 2 beautiful kids. But, an abduction is lower on my list only because, and again, last night we were talking, and I think it was I Am 2 Bear said, have you ever heard of 2 kids, getting kidnapped at the same time? And I agree, it would be extremely difficult, to grab up 2 kids. And we hear Lily like to shriek really, really loud on the bus. And so we know, obviously, and someone said this last night too, that she's got a set of lungs on her, right? She can, really get with it. So, oh, did CNY put something good out earlier? I didn't see. Sometimes I go over and check because that's where I got the Sebastian sighting from too. Rosebud says, my heart aches for all of these abused and missing kids, and I have been asking that same question about KP needing to be brought in like Vallow. Yeah, it's really strange that they haven't, and I don't know if it's because, Lori had such bizarro behaviors, and, they had all those text messages between Chad and Lori, the storm business, and things like that. So very possible, very, very possible, that's maybe the reasoning behind it, because Katie stayed so quiet. She's also allegedly lawyered up, only kind of rowdy, right? I Am 2 Bear. We try to keep it to like, an 8, right? Aw, thanks, Loretto. Aw, thanks, Miss Sharon. Yes. Much appreciated. We're a bunch of hoot owls. That's funny. Just a bunch of hooters in here, Town Chat Cafe. Oh, they said it's criminal. Seth has to demand that she produce him. Well, and it could go to a civil matter, even so, Loretto. Um, Gosh, I just really feel in my heart that they're doing it, deliberately to hurt the other parent, in my opinion. Um, Yeah, Cinderella, that wasn't lost on me either. Cinderella says I was really hoping that the parental grandparents took them if the dad was under house arrest and the police could track the dad. Yeah, absolutely. And then we know that they might be safe, right? Because a family member might take them because they think that they're doing right by them or something like that. So that's always, one of the best case scenarios, even though it would still be kidnapping technically. But I mean, the intention behind it isn't to hurt the children. You think that you're taking them away from a bad situation, which, and I hate to say it, and it has nothing to do with the fact that somebody doesn't have, an HGTV, ready home or, anything like that, or enough money to fix it up to where it looks, glammed up on the outside or anything like that. Because we see even in Sebastian Rogers' case that it doesn't matter what kind of home the child is coming from, there can be abuse and neglect in the home. It doesn't matter how clean, it doesn't matter how much food there is. I mean, obviously we see the worst case scenario because there are children that literally live in feces and, piss all over and drug paraphernalia, and all of this stuff. So no doubt that I'm not comparing this household, because from what I've heard, people who have peeped the social media and things like that, their house was clean, and things like that. But it's the odd kind of play area that we're seeing. The yard definitely doesn't look like it's safe, or I mean, obviously it's not if they were able to get out of the yard, and then they do live by a street, that's mainly used for logging. So back and forth with that. So it is a very rural area, and then of course reminiscent of the Wells property. Now there were 3 children in this home. One is just a baby, so 16 months old. Top tier membership should be the Hoot Owls. Loretto, that's cute. We need to do a members only. We're gonna do a members only soon, guys. Connie says, not all of us. I can never stay awake until the end. Connie, I appreciate you on the replay, though. I know, and I'm going to work on it, too. It's just so hard to get, I don't know. It's just hard because it's such a small spot. But, hey, Lori, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so let's go over this next little bit that I have here. Now, this is kind of more information about Lily and Jack. Let's see here. So Lily and Jack Sullivan, latest update as kids missing for over a week, right? So this was for today, May 10th, 2025, came out about 6:30. Biggest update. It's been 8 days since siblings Lily and Jack Sullivan were reported missing by their mother in rural Canada, with no sightings of the two. It's just odd that we haven't, there was a boot print, right? There was a boot print, but that was about it. And the Canadian Mounted Police have scoured through dense forest with 160 trained volunteers alongside drones and canine units before announcing midweek that they would scale back search efforts, the Guardian reported. After days of searching around Pictou County, where Jack 4 and Lily 6 were last seen at home, Sergeant Robert McCameron said confidence was dropping in finding the siblings. The likelihood they'd be found alive right now is very low, he said during a press conference, the Guardian reported. And so they've been saying that, from the beginning. The latest press release from the RCMP said the children are believed to have wandered away from their home in Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station, Pictou County. The case is being treated as suspicious per protocol, as all missing persons cases are treated as suspicious until our investigation leads us to determine otherwise, Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon said during a press conference, according to the CBC. Now, again, guys, this is how Sebastian's case should have been treated. So, my hat's off to the RCMP. Well done, guys. Well done. What to know? The children are members of the Spitkey. Oh gosh, guys. Spitkey Katik First Nation, the second largest Mi'kmaq community in Nova Scotia, according to the tribe's post on Facebook. I apologize for botching that if I did. Our chief and our council administration and the entire community are united in our strong desire to see these children return home safely, the tribe wrote in its post on Tuesday. Our thoughts are with them every moment until they're found. In our on-camera interview outside of the family home, Daniel Martel, stepfather to the missing children, told the CBC that he and his wife, Maleha Brooks Murray, were with the baby when they believed the kids went out the back sliding door. The stepfather told the CBC he's been fully cooperating in giving the police access to everything I own. He said in a quote, Martel said that the kids were not at school on Friday. They were reported missing on the day before because Lily had a cough. They searched every rock, every root, everything, Martel said. I've been giving them every detail, everything from my bank account statements to all the information that came off my Google Maps. Okay, so his phone was linked up to Google Maps, and he said he's been cooperating. He's given the police access to everything he owns. Sorry, I had to get close to do that, to get close to read. So there's that. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not want to drop that link. Good Lord. That button is so big. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Good to see you. Happy Mother's Day and happy Friday. Hey, Momming It Up. Good to see you. Momming It Up says Little Redo, absolutely. And if there is a disability, there is ways to ask for help, but they were bodied adults. Oh, they were able-bodied adults. They're also, so in my opinion, it was their choice not to have the area safe, Yeah, and I also think that, if kids are having trouble catching up in school and they're not there regularly, that can be a really good indicator of why that could be happening, and not something neurological or not something that would require therapies and things like that. So thanks, Mommin, for your expertise too. And Lori says, I actually think Mom is behind it and boyfriend may have been asleep. Lori, I'm kind of wondering about that too, until I heard that there might have been some kinds of, other crimes being committed by, Daniel Martel. And I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing the mom's name right, so I'm trying though, and I don't mean any disrespect. It's a really pretty name. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, hi everyone, thank you for keeping me company and awake during this road trip home. Just made a pit stop, so checking in 1 hour ago. Drive safe, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. So glad to have you here. I hope it's a fun trip. I hope it's been a fun trip. And I Am Two Bear says, I bet Mom gets cuffs by Monday. They won't do it on Mother's Day. Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing. I think someone is going to be brought in this case. It seems like they're on it, and it seems like they've done everything they were supposed to do from the beginning, which is treating this like it could have been a crime and like it couldn't have been a crime, right? Both had to come in play. You can't have tunnel vision in a scenario like this. Obviously, with the children's ages and everything that kind of transpired. But again, well, and I guess I can't even say that in this case because I do not believe the timeline, right? I have an issue. I have a major issue with the timeline, so that's probably not even going to apply here because I was going to say, well, it doesn't even matter. In this scenario, I don't think that the children would have gotten very far either way. And Town Chat Cafe says, in my opinion, I am beginning to think if she had planned for someone to come get them to leave her guy, I felt it was strange the way she titled him in the interview. In my opinion, she has the kids stashed somewhere. Very possible. Very possible. I don't know why she wouldn't just come out and say it though. I think maybe she would just come out and say that. Hey, Debbie says what? Good to see you. And Detroit says Lily was very vocal, and I believe she would scream at the top of her lungs if someone was trying to take her or Jack. I agree, Detroit Rock City, especially when I heard that, read that in the article. I was like, oh wow, so she did, because somebody said that last night, and I'm like, oh, there it is, there's the proof right there. Mr. Ward, the bus driver, said Lily liked to screech. And so yeah, and like you said, I think she would definitely use that to her advantage if she saw her brother being taken by someone, or if they were, say somebody just kind of like say it was like a big guy or something, right? And he just like grabbed the two of them up or something. I can see that happening, but then they would still be, yelling and kicking and, you know what I mean, trying to get away. Little Redo says the dad is step parent. How many times have we seen a step out of pure meanness harm the children that are not their own? Absolutely. Well, and just another thing too, I don't know how many of y'all saw it, but I wanted to kind of take the sound out of this one. there, and that's not what kids play with. That's not what kids play with. It's weird. Town Chat Cafe says unless someone from the kids' daddy come and took them, in my opinion, even though he is still in jail, I don't know, just a thought, in my opinion, I think they're still alive somewhere. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, sure. And I mean, it's good to keep the hope alive too, because we really don't know what happened at this point. Somebody could have driven up and taken them. I mean, the road isn't far. Here, we'll show you. Let me show you guys this. Let me see here. Oh no, that's Kate. I know I have it in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, there's the house, there's the porch, the sliding glass door they went out of allegedly. And, they just had to go out the little gate that is, to the left of the house. And that's the exit to the, fenced yard, and and I know people have said that it's not a very well built, fence or anything like that. But so there's a lot of places they could have gotten out. But I mean, even so, the road is just right there. And somebody could have just driven up if they were like in and out of sleep, or if they were both groggy, or, definitely. Yeah, Town Chat Cafe, I can see that. Aw. Yeah, we're glad you're here. We're really glad you're here. Or someone from the party. I am too, I was thinking that too, because their timeline is not adding up. I just don't like it. Someone from the party, because I'm sure the kids were present. Yeah, and I mean, seeing that little area out there, that pen and things like that, just worries me. It kind of looks like punishments, or maybe where they kept away from when people were over, like they didn't have the two little ones, or what is up with that? That is just so weird. But the party is also something that is a definite red flag, just a definite red flag, in my opinion. And, we know that they were both called off of school, right? And that the last time the bus driver dropped them off from school was on April 29th. So, it's just all very, very bizarre. And, it's just one of those things where we really don't know what could have happened to these two little Redo. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hug your babies. Hug your babies is right. Well, Town Chat Cafe, they said the party was either Wednesday or Thursday, but the thing about it is I don't know that I believe the source. So this was on, I think it was called like Evil Exists or something, but I snapped a picture of it, and it says, I have to wonder if they'll ever be found, let alone if we'll ever know the truth of what happened to them. I live 50 feet away from them, A. And Canadian people do say A, but I thought it was weird that they would like text it out. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but that was kind of a weird, red flag. Saying that, they didn't even think kids lived in the house. And then it kind of goes on to say all of this, kind of saying that they were, that they thought that they were smoking, and doing bad. And then also, that it was at 2 p.m. They couldn't recall if it was Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. I just don't find them to be credible. I figured I'd share it with you guys, but hey, Meow, thank you for hitting that like button, guys. Thank you so much, Lil Redo. Debbie. Town Chat Cafe says, I thought the bus driver said they were on the bus on Wednesday, right? But did go to the school on Thursday or Friday, correct? Yeah, so I believe, where's my other phone? I guess, I don't, if you guys could look it up really quick, or maybe, see, because if I exit out of here, I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure how many days, let's see, May 2nd was a Friday. So the first was Thursday and then 30th. So yeah, so that would have made it Tuesday, the 29th, I believe. Without looking at a calendar. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. Wednesday was like parent teacher conference or something. They had no school on Wednesday. Okay, so no school. So Tuesday, I think, is the day that they were dropped off. So no school on Wednesday, but then they didn't attend Thursday or Friday. In my opinion, definitely weren't going to attend Friday, but they were kept home because Lily had a cough, and they were going to keep Jack home as well. Because Lily had a cough, and I thought that was weird. You know, and I'll say that, you know, my daughter's an only child, so I can't really speak on, you know, what I would do in that situation, I guess, because I only have the one daughter. But I would just, as a person, as a parent, if one kid is sick, I don't see the point in making the other child stay home. I just don't. That wouldn't be something I would do. Lil Redo says, I thought school was out Wednesday and Thursday. Oh, possibly. Yeah, see, Lil Redo? Yeah, okay, thanks. I need some other moms to weigh in. multi-children families need to weigh in here. Because, I mean, you know, it just doesn't make sense. You know, what if little Jack's got something fun planned on Friday? A lot of times school will be fun on Friday. And so what if it was like pizza day or something, and then he didn't get to participate because Lily had a cough, you know? Oh, that's a good question, Town Chat Cafe. If mom actually attended the parent-teacher conference. Yeah, because you would think, you know, they would. And I mean, just depending on the situation, because it doesn't seem like Lily and Jack's biological father is involved in their life. And so, you know, obviously he's got some issues. I hear that he's on house arrest, you know, so he's not going to attend. So in that case, I would expect maybe for Daniel to attend if, you know, that's kind of the dynamic in the family. It would be a healthy dynamic, in my opinion, for the children to have two people there, you know, but I don't know how they, you know, handled things in their household. Yeah, exactly. A lot of kids are like that too, Lil Redo. And especially when they're little, they love school, right? They love their teacher. They love their friends. They want to be there. They don't want to miss out on anything fun. And, you know, you certainly don't want them getting behind scholastically. And I Am Two Bear says, no, only the sick one stays home. They were obviously lazy parents. Thanks, I Am Two Bear. Yeah, because I was just like, you know, I mean, I have to be honest that I wouldn't know what that's like necessarily. But Debbie says, what says, I haven't heard if they did attend conferences. Yeah, and I didn't know that there was a parent-teacher conference. I just heard that there was no school, you know, during the week or, you know, some what have you. So really interesting because, again, the timeline isn't adding up properly. Lori says, they said Dad wasn't involved with them at all in any way. See, that's what I heard too, Lori. So I would expect, you know, the guy that is there to step up. You know, I would, if it, you know, unless it was like, unless I knew that the other parent, right, the other mother was going to be there, then, you know, maybe I wouldn't feel the need to do that or whatever. But yeah, I mean, in that scenario, it doesn't hurt to have two parents if the other one isn't involved. And Town Chat Cafe says, I didn't know he was on house arrest. I thought he was still in jail, so that makes it interesting. I wonder if the kids are being hid at his house. LE shows up when LE shows up. Yeah, I would think that they would go and talk with the other side, you know, of the family. Absolutely, you know. Yeah. And Detroit Rock City says the stepdad said he will probably be looking for them for the rest of his life. Wow. Oh my goodness. Already he said that? I thought it was weird too that he was like, I was yelling till my throat hurt. Like, that statement is so weird to me, I have to say. Lil Redo says, I am too bare. I agree. Those children needed a safe place in school where they were living was so dangerous. Look at that mess. I know. The outside is creepy, Lil Red. I couldn't believe it when I was going over, today, just kind of going over the live and what we were talking about. And I was scrolling through and then I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. Because, I just so happened to go past and I'm like, that is a weird setup for the kids, because you expect to see at least something in there that they were playing with or whatever. Town Chat Cafe says, remember that story where the kid, there was a child was hidden in a secret room when LE came in and they saw a blanket sticking out from a stair, which was another access door to the secret room. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I remember that one, Town Chat Cafe. That's interesting. Oh my goodness. You just never know. With 4 adults on the property, at least it could have been safer for sure. Yeah, I agree. And if somebody knew that they were playing outside, because how did the mom know that they were playing outside, right? Or was that something she learned afterwards? And then also I heard that someone else or the other people on the property saw the kids outside playing. Again, why would they allow them to play by themselves if, they weren't allowed to do that? If you look out and you see they're playing by themselves and you know that they're not supposed to be out there by themselves, you would call or, holler out, hey guys, are you supposed to be outside? Where are your parents? Something like that. Lori says, LE did say they don't believe the kids are still alive. Also, I can see stepdad saying that. Yeah, they have said that, Lori. They've said that from the beginning. That they really don't think that they're alive, and they know more than us, and they're not going to tell us everything, but yeah, absolutely. Town Chat Cafe says, and Ellie had been there several times before and never knew about it. Wow, really? And see, they can they overlook things, and they can overlook things. We were talking about that too. Everybody's we're all human. And with that area around there, they're going to have to search and search again and again. Debbie says, what? I feel like that too sometimes. My brain has a 404 error code. Nice. Yep, that's me all day. Yes, I remember that. Detroit says to Town Chat. Okay, cool. You guys remember then. Hey, Robini. Good to see you. Lil Redo says, my child was not alone ever in our backyard alone. It's dangerous. We have highly terraced lot with big drop-offs. Our first retaining wall is 10 feet high. Our back porch is 12 foot off the ground. Oh, wow, Lil Redo. Yeah, some backyards are just not as safe as others, right? Some of them are really flat, and if you have a really tall, like, privacy fence or something like that, it would make it a little bit harder. People can't really see in and things like that. But it sounds like you're pretty elevated off of everything. It is tragic. I feel so bad for the bus driver. That was a story. You guys were telling me about the bus driver last night, and when I was reading the article, I just couldn't believe, I mean, it's a small, tight-knit community, it seems like, and them saying it's really rocked the community, these poor little kids, and where could they be, what could have happened? I haven't seen the text messages, Robini. Have you seen the texts about stepdad and mom's brother? I only know what we were talking about tonight, which was that it's been alleged that about a year ago there was an incident with a 16-year-old and them giving her hardcore rugs, something that rhymes with Spokane, right? And they were doing awful things and abusing that young woman. But I have not seen it. Oh my. I am Two Bear says, just shake it like an Etch-a-Sketch. It will clear, Debbie says. Oh, Debbie says, what? That's cute. I am Two Bear. I'll try that sometime. Town Chat Cafe says, I don't even let my little dogs out by themselves because I don't want predators swooping down and flying away with them. I'm very overprotective of my pets. I totally get that because, that can definitely happen, especially with the smaller animals. Absolutely. We have to worry about gators here. So, Little Redo says it's a good thing I don't have grandchildren. They would be attached to my hand 24/7. Aw. Little Redo, that's cute. That is so cute. Yes, it is damn dangerous. It is. Well, and nowadays you can't even let the kids out in the backyard. Somebody could have just drove by and saw them out and grabbed them up, and mom and dad are groggy or not paying attention. Debbie says, what says, ooh, who has the texts? Robini says, yes, it was CNY earlier today. Okay, so CNY has the text. Okay. Yes, they had her locked up and forcing her. It's on CNY. Oh, geez, Robini. Oh, my goodness. I'll have to go check out CNY. An owl that lives in the fireplace. Code word for C would be Eric Clapton. EC, Town Chat Cafe. There you go. There you go. I love that song. Such a good song. Code word for C, the Eric Clapton. Yeah, backyard has gators. Yes, Blessed. There's signs all around the ponds and stuff, and it says don't feed the gators and stuff. And then if you go on and you Google it and they're humongous and they hang out at the golf courses and stuff. It's crazy. It's hey, it's a dinosaur. Awesome. Oh no, an owl tried to take your baby weenie before. Oh no, more than once. Sammy, oh my gosh, I would be beside myself. I'd be get out of here. Oh my gosh. Robini says I had an eagle trying to get my little Yorkie mix. Oh no. Oh my gosh, you guys, I saw the cutest Yorkie. Where was I? I was somewhere out and they had him in the grocery store and oh my gosh, she was so adorable. She had her hair in a tall, tall ponytail and it was in a little red bow. She was so cute and she let me pet her. And she had just been groomed. She was so cute. Oh my gosh. I love Yorkies. Yorkies are adorable. I am Two Bear says, or Snowtown Chat Cafe, remember DeLoreans, they come out with white tires or with snow tires. Nice. That's funny. Mm-hmm. Detroit says it gets very cold in Nova Scotia at night, below freezing, even though it's warm in the daytime. Good to know, Detroit, because I was wondering that too, because one of the reporters in the clips that we were watching last night had said that, they said, that the temperatures didn't get down to freezing the night before. And I was thinking to myself, is that, normal for that area, for the, the climate, thinking that it's, even though it's warm during the day, at night it gets really, really cold. So below freezing even. Wow, Detroit. And gosh, the wildlife up there, right? Lil Redo says it's like those animals have no fear of swooping down in front of you to grab whatever they want. Oh my goodness. And especially the little dogs. Oh my gosh. I would punch an owl. I'll tell you. Don't make me punch that owl. Rob Beanie says I do that to mine. She has a white mohawk. Oh, how cute. I love like the fact that like they all have beards. They're so cute. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I Am Two Bear says most people here have big dogs for hunting mostly due to all the eagles and hawks, but cats get caught often. Oh my goodness, no, not a cat. Oh my goodness. Poor little cats. It is so sad to think about astrology for mystics with Jen. It is. It is. Well, and it's like, where do these kids go? What happens to them? What is, I mean, it's like, it. And Town Check Cafe says, remember Chevy Chase in that movie, Modern Problems? Yes. Like, it's Town Check Cafe. Yes, I like it. Sammy says, Rob Beanie, I live off of Mississippi and those eagles are bigger than cars often. I totally believe it. Yeah, their wingspans are crazy big, aren't they, Sammy? Oh my gosh. Town Chat Cafe says, yeah, this mama grizzly bear would have an owl wings for dinner. Dipping them in ranch. Blue cheese. I Am Two Bear says, a cat will fight an eagle, but I'm sorry. I know that wasn't meant to be funny, but I just pictured it in my head. A cat will fight an eagle, but when a local nest fell, it contained several pet collars. What? Yikes. Ew, that's so creepy. I Am Two Bear. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh, that is so terrible. Lil Redo says, I will be holding Lady Freedom's hoops when she hits out. From swooping down. Oh my goodness. That's funny, Lil Redo. I know I'll have to take him off, right? Come on, Owl. Let's go. Let me at him. You'll be holding me back. You guys do have a lot up there in Ohio, Rob Beanie. Oh my goodness. Astrology for Mystics with Jen says, why did Lily have her backpack? Why does the stepdad know what she was wearing and knew she had her backpack but doesn't know what Jack was wearing? Yeah, that's a really great question, Jen, because like the reason, well, according to Daniel, the stepdad, the reason he's saying that is because he said he didn't see Jack that morning, but he's just, I guess, guessing that he was wearing a brown pair of pants and a brown shirt, and then also his blue rain boots with dinosaurs on them. So, yeah, it's a great question. And I don't know why he wouldn't have said, hey, Lily, you don't need your backpack because you're not feeling good, right? You have a cough, so you're not going to school today, and explain to her, because maybe they were out there waiting for the bus and then someone snatched them up. So that's a really good point, Jen. Kind of working that out in my head, I can see how that might have happened that way, especially if she had her backpack on. Yeah. And it's weird that they don't know what the kids were wearing, I mean, was it something that they were used to, Lily and Jack were used to getting up and changing their own clothes for school, things like that. But it's kind of hard to believe because Jack was said to have been wearing a pull-up and he's 4 years old, and I mean, I'm not, knocking him for wearing a pull-up or anything at 4, but typically kids will be, potty trained around 2.5, 3, at the latest. So, it's hard to believe that if he was still wearing pull-ups and wasn't using the bathroom by himself, that he wasn't also, getting himself dressed and things like that. But it's not to say that Lily wasn't helping. Aw. Oh my goodness, Kathy, I'm so sorry. I can't believe these owls are attacking cats like this. That's alarming. Aw, I bet. We just love our pets, He said he didn't see him that morning. Yeah, he didn't. He said he didn't see him that morning. And, that's weird. It's just weird. Debbie says, what? Says dinosaur boots that just kills me. He's so little. I know, right? The little dinosaur boots. And they were little, little blue dinosaur boots. And then she was wearing her little pink rain boots. So they both had their rain boots on, Sammy says he spoke of one in past tense, which I thought was weird. But if he only saw the one present tense and spoke of the other in past tense because he had not seen them, makes more sense to me. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important to consider when we do consider which tenses are being used and when, because obviously we could speculate and say, if they're using the children in the past tense, that could, signal to us that they are no longer with us, right? But if like you said, if he saw one of them, and he didn't see the other, then that would make more sense, why he would be using past tense for one and not on the other. Thanks, Sammy. Yeah, I think that's important to kind of put that into perspective. Ooh, that's true, Lil Redo. I wonder if they check suitcases in the house. If grown men and teenagers can fit in them, then two small children could fit in one large suitcase. Well, yeah, and remember, like Sarah Boone, her boyfriend fit in the suitcase, and she like zipped him up into it, and it didn't look like a very big suitcase. So absolutely, and we know what happened with little Gannon Stauch. So absolutely, that's a good point. And we still don't know when these children, went missing or what happened to them. It could have happened days before. Robini says, did they ever clear that car, the one that was at the abandoned campsite next door? I don't know if they have cleared that car or not, Robini. That's a good question. Really good question. Detroit says, did the bus driver say what time he normally picked them up? He didn't. He didn't in the article, because I did snip the whole article, and just kind of like, make it a little bit longer so I could read each one and you all can kind of follow along. But, it didn't state in there. It only said that that he dropped them off the 29th. At the end of their dirt driveway, because you can kind of see where they would have pulled up to drop the kiddos off. Yeah, wearing a pull-up at 4 said from wearing one pull-up all day. Yeah, and you would think, like, because especially at nighttime, I know that sometimes kids will have some issues, and you might have to, monitor how much they drink before they go to bed and, kind of help them out in that way. And things like that. So pull-ups at bedtime are a little bit pull-ups than all day. A little bit different than pull-ups all day, right? And, when they're awake, they should be able to switch over and, put the big boy or girl pants on. And then, whenever they need to use the bathroom, try at least to make sure they're using the bathroom. So, yeah, again, lazy parenting, I think, as well, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that, or hateful, being truthful, based on what we're seeing here, kind of the parents not really being up, and, we don't hear about breakfast. We don't hear about, during breakfast, Lily was coughing, and so we decided to keep her home, and then But even so, Jack should have been, regularly scheduled programming, on the bus, and Lily should be resting and, getting her fluids. We gave her some of the Mucinex to help her with the cough, and, or whatever, they have out there for the little ones now, Robitussin, whatever. What was it? Chris Rock said his mom would always, tell him, put the Robitussin on it, But we didn't even hear that she had anything given to her for her cough, So yeah, it's odd. Baba Rose says, okay, my question is, if the parents were asleep and did not know they were outside, how did they even know what they were wearing? Very sus. Exactly. And just like the stepdad said, he reported them missing 20 minutes after he realized they were missing. But, they were reported missing, well after 8 o'clock. Well, and then the search team came out at 10, very suspicious, very fishy. And Astrology for Mystics with Jen says, seems to me she was going to school and something happened with her and Jack. Did they say, we will see you, or head to the school on their own? Why did she have her backpack? Yeah, I don't know. And she wasn't even supposed to be going to school that day. It's so strange, and I don't know if he's saying that she had her backpack maybe to throw things off, or maybe to make us think that they were, gonna run away, so to speak. Maybe that they took things and Lily was carrying the backpack because she was older than Jack, or something like that. So, but yeah, you could very much be right. Right there, Jen, Just doesn't make any sense, Loretto. Debbie says, what says my kids would not be going to school alone at that young period? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a long ride. It's 20 minutes to the school on the bus, and if they're both just sitting around, I mean, yeah, I don't see why they don't drive them into school. I know they have the little one, and I get that, but that boy, and Debbie says, what says that boy was in the woods, Gannon? Yeah, he was. Yeah, in the suitcase. Little Gannon Stout. His stepmother was a monster. Baba Rose says, I think those kids were gone long before they called. Absolutely. I think so too, Baba Rose. The timeline of events just is not matching up. Something had to have happened, in my opinion, the night before, possibly. I mean, there's a couple of days where the kids were not seen, and according to everything that I've read, it seems to me that the last time anybody else seen them other than the family members or the parents was when they were dropped off by the bus driver. Lil Redo says, sometimes people with low education use the wrong words, so they could be using past tense words but not meaning to do. I know, yeah, that makes sense to me, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they may be using, the wrong context, the wrong tenses, the wrong words. Absolutely. We see that with Chris Proudfoot. He does that a lot, where he will use the wrong words for things, but he really thinks he's saying it the right way. Like when he says, pervy, I'm not pervy, he's really meaning to say I'm not privy, but he always says I'm not pervy, and he really thinks that he's saying it correctly. Absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me, Lil Redo. Sorry to use that one as an example, but he does, and he's dead ass about it too. He'll be like, I'm not pervy to that, and then it's like, okay, Chris, it's privy, but it's okay. And then Astrology for Mystics with Jen says the mother is a suspect, as all I can get out of me. Yeah, I agree, Jen. I do. She doesn't have hardly any emotions at all for losing not just one, but two kids. Girl, aren't you torn up? Exactly. I know. And they're so little, Jen. I mean, like, they cannot take care of themselves out there, right? Like, they're just so little, and it's such a rural area. They could be hurt, they could be cold, they could, all of that, and no emotion whatsoever from the mom. I mean, I agree. Very suspicious, and, really setting the stage for an abduction, over explaining things. Yeah, it's just not adding up. And then, of course, she's cut ties with, the stepdad now. Um, Kathy says, Lady Freedom, I used to live in Florida. I happened to be outside with one of the small kestrel hawks tied and tried to get my 2-pound toy poodle. Oh my gosh, made me so mad. There's a lot of birds. I will say lots of birds here, Kathy. Lots and lots of birds. And their presence is strong. Oh my goodness, that poor little poodle. I would have been mad too. Robini said, I heard school starts later there. Can't remember what time though. Thank you, Robini. So yeah, maybe it was maybe they start at like 8:30, I'm guessing. Maybe like 8:30. Astrology for Mystics with Jen says, mother leaves the home, she jets, blocks her man, and leaves him to fend for himself. He looks for the kids like she knows where they are, in my opinion. Absolutely. I could never leave the area. If I thought that my kids had, wandered off, I would never ever leave the area. If I thought that they were abducted from that area, I would know that they would want to come back to the home where they love and feel comfortable. So that would make me not want to leave the area either, Jen. That's a great point. And yeah, she does. She just kind of jets, right? She's like, I'm out of here. She bounced out and left, her man to look for the kids, which I understand that's more maybe of a manly duty, right? In those woods. I mean, I know a lot of, our significant others will hunt and, they're very comfortable out in them woods, whereas maybe somebody as girly, like me isn't, right? But I mean, so I can see him maybe going out there and having her stay back. But for her to leave altogether is very, very fishy. you know. And Rabini says, Jen, I think she could be suspicious of him being of the ordeal with the 15-year-old. Well, and that's true too. That is true too. I need to look into that more, Rabini, because that is strange. And, you know, here's a little history from Mob, from Chris over there, from, let's see, Mob Crew. Okay, so here we go. So, you know, Daniel and Malaya, I hope I say it right, started dating 3 years ago, right? And then they have, you know, a 16-month-old, according to news. So, very shortly after they got together, they got pregnant with their baby. And Daniel moved in 2 years ago. So, you know, so when they weren't even really together during the pregnancy, it seems like, right? 9 months for pregnancy and then a 16-month-old, you know, so just kind of put it into perspective a little bit. And then that supposedly happened, you know, what, a year ago? I mean, that's just gross. And then again, we see this. I mean, check that out. That looks like a big board, right? Like maybe not even plywood, but, you know, because plywood or like the particle board, you know, you can kind of tell. But it looks like a board, and it also looks like there are some kind of ties, the orange ties. And that's supposed to be the kids' you know, tree fort out back. Detroit Rock City says a lot of pre-K won't allow kids if they are not potty trained. Very true, Detroit Rock City. And you know, with him only being 4, I wonder if they rode the same bus, he would have had to be in pre-K. That's okay. Yeah, Detroit, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, great point. So was it a situation again that, you know, where they were only wearing pull-ups when they were around the lazy parents? You know what I mean? Who didn't want to help them out, who didn't want to remind them they have to go, you know, because, you know, some kids will get into something, you know, and then the next thing they know, they've, you know, had an accident because they were so into whatever they were doing, right? Playing a video game, playing with their Legos, playing with toys or whatever. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh, they had an accident because they forgot to go, you know? But yeah, that's a good point, you know, and you might have to remind them, or maybe, you know, don't drink a bunch of stuff before bed, things like that. Loretto says, I thought they had no phone service. See, wearing boots with backpacks seems like they plan to trip out to the woods. Well, and you would have thought maybe that too, if that, you know, if it looked like they could have went out to that little fort, you know, or something like that. But, you know, then they wouldn't have been far. But I think that's what they're trying to paint, is the picture that they, you know, we're planning on going somewhere, you know, Little Red. So I agree. Sammy says that's where I believe there could be we've been working on a potty training for 1.5 years, but my L3 ASD daughter isn't quite there. But this is not uncommon. Hard to say for sure. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, you know, and everybody does things in their own time. And maybe the school was working with him on that too. And maybe there was other kiddos that were, you know, because it's a smaller school district, so maybe there was more specialized attention and things like that. But see, you know, they weren't diagnosed, Sammy, yet. And she said they were high functioning either way, but and Detroit says that's why I asked what time the bus came. If the school's 20 minutes away and classes usually start before 8 a.m. I was thinking the same thing, Detroit, like maybe at 7:30 or something usually. Yeah, so that's cutting it really close, right? Oh, believe maybe. Thanks, thanks, Sammy. I never let my baby ride the school bus. I just didn't want someone else driving my children anywhere, but I am a little overprotective. Let's just say that. Yeah, that's understandable, Loretto. I completely understand. You know, and the school bus can be pretty harsh too. Like kids can be really, you know, bad on the bus and a lot of distractions for the driver. I totally get it. Astrology for Mystics with Jen says, when were they dropped off last from the bus driver? According to the bus driver, it was April 29th. And they went missing on Friday, May 2nd. So that had to have been Tuesday, April 29th, from my calculations. Tuesday, Robini thinks. Very, very flat affect, in my opinion. Absolutely. Absolutely. Loretto said he is absolutely pervy. That live with all his nasty talk and inappropriate subjects. Loretto. I'd pop just for men Chris up, but I deleted him out of here. Sammy says, I told him, do you hear the kids? Sammy says, quote, I told him, do you hear the kids? End quote. I thought the mother seemed to be speaking very slowly, like she is sedated. She did seem pretty out of sorts. I will say that. But like in terms of her looking like she uses hardcore rugs, I'm wondering. But, you know, she could be on like an anti-anxiety like script or something. So, you know, whatever she's taking that's doctor's prescribed wouldn't be, you know, frowned upon when she takes the drug test. You know? And a lot of those, you know, anti-anxiety meds and antidepressant medications can really, you know, do a number on folks too, just like the hardcore rug. So that's a great point. I Am Two Bear says a lot of people think they were sold for rug debt. Oh gosh, I Am Two Bear. Maybe so. Maybe so. Especially if they're doing things like, essaying a 16-year-old. Rob Beanie says stepdad's not allowed to see the baby. He said so. The CPS story is probably true. Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe the CPS story. I do. And that one is this one right here that we read off too. So April Van Snick, the mother has already been drug tested and removed from the home. RCMP and Department of Community Services and Child Protective Services strongly recommend that she leave the dwelling. Drug paraphernalia was located inside the home along with one of the vehicles. I cannot speak on who owned the vehicle or what exactly was found, but I can confirm that the drug paraphernalia was located at the residence. The mother and the baby were removed to a secure location away from the property. And, it's my understanding that they wouldn't have just left the baby, with the mother if she popped dirty for drugs, right? That's just my understanding. But awfully close to the road. Awfully close to the road. Hey, Social Butterfly, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Happy Saturday. Well, actually, it's Sunday, so happy Mother's Day. I do not know how long the dad has been under house arrest, Town Chat. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I heard he just wasn't a part of the children's life. Unfortunately, I hate hearing that. That's another reason why I always like to, give props to Seth, because he's just such a good dad. Present. All of that. And Detroit Rock City says, okay, I just read in Nova Scotia elementary school starts at 9 a.m. Oh, wow, Detroit. Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. 9 a.m. though, huh? That's late. That's late. Wow. Town Check Cafe says, just curious, does anyone know how long has Bio Dad been home under house arrest? Oh, sorry, I answered that one. I Am Two Bear says Jack was 4, perhaps he wasn't even in school. Lily was Lily was, but are we assuming? Well, the only reason I think that is because the bus driver, right? Because Lily and Jack rode the bus together to the school, so he definitely was in school. I Am Two Bear. Yeah, I know, because I was thinking that too. I was like, well, he's only 4, but yeah, he was definitely riding the bus. And Astrology from a 6 with Jen says, so she moves in with him and his mom and brother. Yeah, so the mom and brother live on the property as well. But there's also a camper or an RV on the property. It's on the top right-hand corner. You can kind of see it right there. Yeah, bus driver said he picked them both up. Yep. Yeah, he was in pre-K. Yeah, I think he was definitely in pre-K. That's a play area. Hell no, my child would not be in that. I know, Lil Redo. Isn't that crazy? Here's another look at the property, guys, just so you can kind of see. That's the playhouse, inside the playhouse. Well, I don't even know if it's a playhouse, right? It's like... It's like a tree. It's like a tree fort, right? Where it's really, really weird. But here's this. that's how it starts. It just keeps going and going. I've seen it in rural Missouri with math, you know. Little Redo says, here we go, CPS, step parents, kids walked out away at 4 and 6. Sure, right. Yeah, it's over and over, Little Red, you know, and it's just the same like with Sebastian. You know, one thing I will say though, when it comes to this stepfather, he's not acting like Chris Proudfoot. He's not going on and, you know, yelling at panels. And, you know, I mean, he's stated that the rumor mill on social media has been horrific. I believe him when he says that, you know, and things like that. So, because we all know how it can be on these streets, let's be honest. But he's not come out and acted anywhere near the asshole or, you know, the confusion that Chris Proudfoot has spread in the Sebastian Rogers case. You know, and it's not like he's linking up with, you know, people who are trying to detour others from talking about his stepchildren. So, I mean, it's a vast difference, in my opinion. He's also searching, and neither, you know, and Chris Proudfoot is not, and neither is Katie, in my opinion. I Am Two Bear says, I had an asshole stepdad, so when my husband passed, I became Superwoman and handled it all. No wonder I feel like I'm 100 years old. No stepdads for my kiddos. Well, and you just have to be so careful, you know, and if you can't find the right person, you're right. And you do turn into Superwoman for sure. You know, and I'm sure your kids are very grateful that you put them first and not, you know, somebody that wasn't good for the family, right? Because we have to be so careful who we bring in, and sometimes people aren't who they seem to be. Hey, Social Butterfly, we see that in the Sebastian Rogers case. We see Chris love bombing, whining and dining, taking, you know, Sebastian on deep sea fishing trips, taking Katie to faux restaurants, them going hiking all the time, them doing all these fun activities, and then all of a sudden he brings her to Henderson, Tennessee, and all of that stops, right? The party's over. And Baba Rose says, I wonder if the kids were there when they had their party. Yeah, Baba Rose, I'm not sure. Apparently they had a big party in the, you know, parking lot where the, you know, they have a big parking lot kind of, near their house, and it was packed. But I don't know what to think of that neighbor, if that's really their neighbor or not. In the text, there we go. This is how you can kind of see. I mean, there's plenty of places for people to park. You know, you could park up on the grass. It doesn't look like the grass is torn up though. So that was another thing that I was kind of leery about, that, you know, alleged neighbor. Robini says, my dad was a stepdad to 3 brothers. We all just called him Dad, and he was an awesome dad. Aw, that's so cool. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I read that wrong, Robini. My dad was a stepdad to my 3 brothers and I, and we all just called him Dad. And, you know, that's a wonderful relationship to have. I think that if you're going to get involved with someone, you know, that has kids, you had better be prepared to be that. You know what I mean, Robini? Absolutely, because that's what kids deserve, and that's what a mother who is shopping around for, you know, a husband, you know, for her family, you know, and a dad should really deserve too. And the same goes for a dad that's looking for, you know, a woman for his family, you know, to kind of be that wife and stepmother. And I Am Two Bear says, the problem with that tree fort is that it's halfway in the main road. Not good. Not why wasn't it built behind the house? Well, you know, it appears that it is back behind the house. It appeared to me that it was kind of back behind the house. The thing is, these two never wandered before. Why wander off this day, in my opinion? Absolutely, Social Butterfly. That bothers me as well, because it just really doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Well, and that's true, Sammy, because it does, that, you know, that area is not very large, and they do service a wide area, they said, with the buses. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Lori says it was a few days ago about a GoFundMe and where his money went. So I asked you, are you looking at the other side, raise funds for lawyers and the receipts? I just go a heart or just got a heart on the comment. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, the GoFundMe's. If you're gonna give to a GoFundMe, you just got to be prepared for somebody that may or may not do right by the money. I mean, you got to give it of your heart and hope for the best. And you got to be leery of who you give it to. I would rather give, I'd rather give to a GoFundMe of somebody that I know, right, than I would to maybe a bigger organization where all of the, funds don't go exactly to the cause, right? So there's always that. But you just got to be careful and just know that you're doing, your intentions are good, right? You're giving to what you feel to be or what you deem to be a worthy cause, and just know that once you give that money of your heart, that is something that you're giving to somebody that you're not really sure how it's going to be dispersed or what it's going to be used for, but you still donate because it's out of the kindness of your heart. Lori says I also commented that once we donated, unless told for a specific cause, it's no longer our business where it goes. Amen, Lori. Amen. I've said that too. I mean, gosh, we used to have panhandlers galore, right? Up in Missouri. And, there'd be days where I would see somebody, one guy was so drunk off of his ass, and I gave him like $5. I'm like, here you go, buddy. It was like the only money like that I had fishing around in my purse, right? But I felt bad for the guy. I'm sure he went in there and bought like a pack of cigarettes or maybe even some more booze with it. But I mean, who am I? I gave it to him. I mean, I was just trying to help him out. I hope the fella got what he needed. Yeah, schools are early. Yeah, schools have always been early in my opinion here too, Lori. Yeah, because 9 seems really late. And then what do they go, like 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 maybe? I don't know. That does seem late though, but it could be due to like the weather and things like that. Thanks, Maman. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. I love having you guys. We're almost up to 3,000 subscribers over here. I'm really excited. I never thought my YouTube channel would grow like this, and I never thought I'd have such a wonderful community of people. A lot of you guys I've known just from being around the YouTube streets, and some of the other creators that, I'd see you guys in chat and things like that. So I'm just always glad to have you guys here, and you guys are always so smart and bringing in new ideas or, telling me things that I didn't know or I wasn't able to catch. So I just really appreciate you guys. And, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So, and I Am Two Bear says, I thought the fort was up the driveway and then off to the left. Here, you know what? I'll show it again. Because I'd like to see it too. I thought it was kind of off to the left as well. So only one, I didn't know he was only working 1 day a week, but I know he was off that Friday, and, maybe he was down to only 1 day a week being in that small area. Social Butterfly says, why did the stepfather drive on the trails looking instead of looking on foot around the home, in my opinion? That's a great question, Social Butterfly. I mean, that's where you would think that they would look at first, would be the immediate area, right? Because how could they get very far? And then, thinking about, Lily and her little backpack, and if she did say, we're going to take off out of here because we're sick of these parties, say they were having parties, and, or say they were fighting a lot, or maybe the baby was getting all the attention. And so, little Lily and Jack said, we're going to go into the woods or something. Why wouldn't you look immediately around the area? Absolutely. Because how far could they have gotten? They're so little. So little. Town Chat Cafe says, well, I like your channel because of the dragons and I like dinosaurs. LOL, just kidding. You have good content. Aw, thank you. And this channel is a lot of fun and a great group of real hoots that are all night owls. Yes, absolutely, Town Chat Cafe. I agree. You guys are always a hoot. I love spending time with you guys. You guys are always awesome. Yeah. Oh, that is such a good point. I am Two Bear says, how could they even afford a party? They're probably dealing rugs, right? Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, no doubt about it. I can totally see that. I can totally see that being true. And, I'm guessing the mother wasn't a part of that. I'm guessing it probably was the brother and the stepfather Daniel, that's my best guess, because, they told him stay there, and who knows, maybe they got rid of everything that they thought they got rid of. And then all of a sudden, there was this paraphernalia that was found, and, oh crap, I forgot to get rid of that or something like that, Hey, Holly S. Loretto says, I read a study on my live the other night. It showed children 1 to 6 years old had a 0 chance of running away. Wow. Well, because they're so little and it's a big world. And, excuse me, I can see that. I don't know. I just think back to my daughter, and she never would have went off with anybody, ever, never, ever. She just wouldn't. She'd stay right by me. She didn't wander off. Say we were in the department store or something, she was right by me. She would never just be like, oh, I'm going over here, never, ever. It would never occur to her to do it. So, and that doesn't mean other kids don't, Kathy says, Town Chat, because we're all punch drunk from being up too late. Yes, that, and these cases, I think they make us have brain leakage out the side of our ears or something half the time. I am Two Bear says, nope, she doesn't get off that easy. She is the mom. You're right, I am Two Bear. I do have to say that you are absolutely right. And the kind of shenanigans of staying in the bed, not getting up, not, we don't hear about breakfast time. We don't hear about, well, we woke up and, we're getting ready for school, but then there was coughing and we were concerned. And so we kept her home, and, and we were talking about last night, even, if she had said, I was laying down, maybe she wasn't feeling good herself, or maybe she was tending to their 16-month-old baby, and my husband was up with the kids, but you would expect to hear at least one parent or the other being up with the kids, especially if dad's not working, right? It's just, it all doesn't make sense. And I agree, it's on mom, because those are her babies, and not necessarily his. So, yeah, I agree. Lori says, he said that it was because there's trails that go back to the cabins, and he used to take the kids to the cabins all the time. Oh, okay, Lori, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay, so he was hitting those trails to see if the kids had taken that way or something or gone that way. Okay, that makes more sense then. Thank you for that, Lori. Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Town Chat Cafe. Caramel flavored coffee with liquid coffee mate. Caramel with extra flavor. LOL plus a side of H2O on the rocks with a lemon twist. That sounds really good. Lemon's so good for you too. I am T Bear says I'm always up before the kids. If they were up and farted, I panicked and was very vertical. Well, and I mean, especially when you have a lot of little ones too, and it's always when they're being really quiet is when they're doing something, right? It's always like, wait a minute, I don't hear the kids. Like, you know what I mean? Then something's up. Like they're either doing something they're not supposed to or something's going on. That's so funny. But yeah, and she said she heard them playing in the room next door, and then their door is not far from, the sliding glass door isn't far away from the room. It's not a terribly large house that we're dealing with either. So I can see if, again, there was a bedroom all the way on the other side of the house, and then, they weren't heard. Something like that would make sense, right? A little bit more. But either way, you don't just let the kids do whatever they want and you're like in and out of consciousness or sleep, I mean, you just don't allow for that. It's just so unfortunate. Robini says my son said he was going to run away at 4 and I followed him outside, sat down with him and we talked his feelings out. How sweet, Robini. Aw. He made it to a telephone pole in the yard about 2 feet from the house. That is so cute. Well, and we all get in our feelings sometime, right? We get all up in our feels and, we're feeling a type of way about something. And then, yeah, and then we come to our senses, right? And then little kids do that too because they think, well, I'm just going to take off. And then they realize, well, this is kind of, kind of scary out here. I don't want to be out here. Hey, Shadow. But yeah, and it's just so dangerous for kids nowadays, even if they was to walk down the road, it's just like, Detroit Rock City says, yes, I thought I read something about the cabins in the woods. Okay, yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate that because I didn't read that. My kids would come and get you if they woke up first. Exactly, Lori. That's a great point. That is such a great point, yeah, they would say, hey, I'm hungry for breakfast or, jump around on you to wake you up and stuff like that. Sure. But I mean, responsible parents, they have an alarm set. They go and wake the kids up, right? And get them ready for school and get them their breakfast, make sure their teeth are brushed and their hair is combed and they have something decent on to wear, because sometimes kids like to dress themselves and it's not always something that we would want them to be seen in public in and things like that. So, we help them out a little bit. Yeah, silent kids is danger for sure. It's like, what's going on? There's definitely a disturbance in the force over here. Robini says he was mad. I made him clean up his room and put his Nintendo up until he was done. And it's the littlest things, that could be. And, especially with a new baby in the house, sometimes the older kids are like, who's this baby? Who's this baby coming in here taking up all everybody's attention and time and things like that. And so it could be frustrating for them. They decide, we're going to take off for a little bit. But I mean, how far could they get? I mean, and I hate to think of it, but the way the road was right there, they really could have been waiting on the bus and somebody could have just driven by and grabbed him up. I mean, let's be honest. It's not like when we look at Summer Wells' home and, how it's up a hill and, how the gravel washes down when it rains and things like that. It's a little bit different here because they're right next to a main road, very flat, straight shot. And Lori says, Detroit, the way it was said, is there's a few cabins and they went to them all the time. I don't know why though. Yeah, I don't know. Something rubs me wrong about Daniel. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, other than what's been alleged. And I'm going to have to go check that out. We'll definitely be talking about that one tomorrow. You know. Oh, Detroit. I was thinking that too with the cabins. Oh. I wonder if they took that one girl to those cabins. Ugh. And were those and were those cabins like something that was, you know, that was a part of their property, or were they just abandoned in the woods, or Ooh, I love coffee, Lori. I had a double shot of espresso. They sell the ones with the caramel, like salted caramel. Oh, they're so good. I could probably live off of those. I Am Two Bear says CP threw Sebastian's toys away. I used to box them up and save them for rainy days. It was like Christmas. They had so many they never missed. Yeah, the confiscated ones. Well, and you know, I've also done too, because like, you know, my daughter was an only child, so she got a lot of presents and things like that. And when she was little, I would rotate them out, like you said, so it would be like something new, you know, so she wouldn't get bored of them, or it wouldn't be overwhelming. Like, what all am I going to play with? But so, you know, I would kind of, but I would never just like bag them up and throw them out or anything. And believe me, when I say we went back and forth about the room cleaning thing, like I totally feel the pain of anybody who had to, you know, go back and forth about cleaning the room, and you know, but you just kind of find stuff that, you know, things, you know, it's like when their friends call them and they're like, you know, can so and so come out and play? It's like, well, not yet. She didn't clean her room, and then she'd overhear me, you know, and I'd make it a point to be like, oh, so and so, oh hi, yeah, well, Olivia didn't clean her room yet, so she can't come out yet. And then I'd hear her in there scurrying around to get it, you know, as quick as she could, you know, and then I'd go check it, because we do have to check after the kids, you know, they're learning. But that was always her main motivation, you know. And so once I learned that, I'm like, well, you know, when your friends call, you're not going to be able to go. And what if they want to go do something right now and you won't be able to because you'll be scurrying to clean the room? So, you know, it works out better than like, oh, I'm going to take all your stuff and throw it out forever and you'll never see it. And Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, my youngest son is 12 and he still comes and tells me good morning if he wakes up before me. Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, see? Yeah, it's just odd, you know? That is so sweet, Robini. I am too, Tony Fire. Tony Fire says, I'm just fed up with all these lost kids. Problem is, it seems like they don't get found. Summer, Monkey, Sebastian, many more, and the responsibility falls nowhere. Sad. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I thought there was a big break in Monkey's case not too far back, you know, and now it's like, what happened to that, you know? Excuse me. And, you know, someone like Brandy is really a good role model, I guess. You know, isn't that terrible, Tony? You know, a role model for parents who children have been abducted or go missing. You know, there's just so many good examples of mothers that, you know, really care. But the zero accountability thing is getting old. And then too, you know, where social services and things like that, you know, we just see them failing kids left and right. They never seem to get it right. It's really, really frustrating. And, you know, that's who suffers is the kids, you know, because if they're placed in the wrong place and they're abused, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And, you know, hopefully they can survive it and there's counseling and resources. But then we see these children who are never found, like Summer, like you said, Monkey, we have Sebastian. Now we have these two beautiful little babies. And I know they're working really, really hard. Um, you know, Lori says, I tried to run away at 8 in the middle of the blizzard. I was so angry, but I couldn't open the door to get out. Oh no, you were snowed in. Lori, that sounds like growing up in Chicago. You wouldn't get very far, let's just put it that way. Feet and feet of snow. You have to shovel your way out. In my opinion, Tony Fire said it's too easy for these people to say, I don't know. They're gone, right? Oh, they just poof, vanished, right? They just disappeared. Yeah, and that's it. Not you get locked up until we find them. I mean, and I know that it's innocent until proven guilty, right? But in the same way, I think when the element of abuse is present, that should be enough to put them in there until they're found. Yeah, I think that should be, maybe that should be a new law. And maybe that will deter people from saying, oh, I don't know what happened. They just, poof, disappeared. Well, until you can produce, some sort of valid receipts, then you're going to sit your butt in, a detention center for missing parents of the missing, Tony. Oh gosh, put him in there with Denzel from Man on Fire. Aw, thanks, Meg. Thank you. 67. Woo. Town Chat Cafe says, in my opinion, another thought for Sebastian is there's a stranger to Sebastian, but actually from one of the ARC schools kidnapped him. So if he ever got out, he could say it was a kidnapping and they would all be innocent. Well, I don't think that's very far-fetched, Town Chat Cafe. And I've been thinking about the schools and different things. And I know I said we might discuss that. And I wanted to present it to you guys in a good way. So we may take some time and do that. Because, that's, again, it's about a 5% chance, in my opinion. I'm more so looking at the lights. But then again, the getaway driver could have been involved in the schools and things like that from, that documentary, the program. And there's other accounts of schools just like that, very interesting. But I have been doing some research, and people have sent me different things, and Lori says, right, in a blizzard, it was a blizzard of 78, all things. Also, I was sun-kissed because I was stuck at home with my parents. Oh, I can remember it clear as day still. Oh, that's so funny, Lori. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, I know, Tony. Tony says, my heart breaks for that lady. Example of a person getting very ill because of stress. Oh my gosh. I know. I agree, Tony. I agree. And she looked and looked and looked. And I mean, she even got up, what was it, a month and a half ago now, I think, and just, talked about how she wants Michael back. She just wants him home. She wants to be able to put him to rest, it's heartbreaking, Tony. Hey, Ann Brock. Good to see you. Lori says, I think we just need stricter laws about these kids just vanishing and nothing happens, because until they have stricter laws, parents are not going to pay attention. I agree. There has to be some accountability. To me, I would never be able to forgive myself if my child went missing under my watch. It wouldn't have mattered, even if it was a situation like Elizabeth Smart, right? I bet you her parents felt so guilt-ridden, stricken. What are we going to do? Where is our daughter? I mean, yeah. I would be beside myself, and I would be guilt-ridden. I really would be. And so I don't understand how they're not, or how we see these parents out there living their best life. And It's like unbelievable. Robini says, I begged my mom to go out in the blizzard of 78 and I was 3 and we had just moved from South Carolina to Ohio and she put me in a snowsuit and set me outside. The wind took my breath and I started crying. Oh my goodness, Robini. You know, it looks so much more fun than when you're actually out there and it's bitter cold, you know, like Chicago's that way, you know, you get the lake effect snow and everything. Oh my goodness. Lori says, I can't believe more hasn't happened. Oh, sorry guys. Sorry about that. I lost you guys for a second. Alrighty. All of a sudden it just went blank. All right. Let's see here. Where were we at? Lori says we need new CPS guidelines and a central database. I've been saying that for the last 35 years. My goodness, Lori, and I don't blame you one bit. And I think that's absolutely what we need. A central database would really help state to state, you know, and just to keep track of what's going on. Excuse me. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that would help tremendously. Yeah, accountability all the way. Town Chat Cafe said, I would like to know if there was a black Buick Enclave around that night. You know, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Robini says it's still parental kidnapping. They had shared custody, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Who if someone helped kidnap Sebastian and is hiding them out, oh boy, I mean that's going to be a deal. You know, definitely. Good. That's a great point. Tony Fire says, and the CPS workers who don't report constant abuse must go to jail too. Yes, absolutely. Please, U.S., send guys to jail for stupid driving offenses. These are children's lives. Yeah, 100%, Tony. That's really well said. And, you know, and there's no accountability. I mean, even for the CPS worker in Sebastian's case, yeah, they were fired from their job, but, you know, it's not like they were held accountable for allowing what they allowed, right? Not notifying Seth. He had joint custody. So much wrong with that. We even saw that in the Harmony Montgomery case, where Adam Montgomery was able to just leave the situation in with Little Harmony, and then they never followed up. And then, of course, we all know what allegedly happened to Harmony. You know, she was ultimately beaten to death by her father, you know, for having accidents because they were living in a car. How did CPS not know that? I mean, they were running generators out of the house. So many things. His own uncle called on him because he said he bashed Harmony around the house. It's just sick. And she was just a little doll. I mean, you know, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, has anyone ever seen the movie Man on Fire? Yes, that's what we need. We need this. We need mercenaries. No, we need vigilante justice. No, that's terrible. We need Denzel Washington to find these missing kids. If they haven't seen it, it's a great or if you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. I agree, and it is. It's about a kidnapping in Mexico, and what it was a hoax. Ultimately, the father, wanted to make money off of the kidnapping, and so he agreed to it. We find that out at the end. It's great. I just spoiled it, but I mean, I'll tell you, it's a great movie. Denzel finds very creative ways of finding Lupita, the little girl who was taken, kidnapped, and very creative ways. Town Chat Cafe says, OMG, I remember that blizzard. I was living in Toledo then. Lori says, Kathy, we had no power almost a month after that one, and they just made it way worse. And that just made it way worse. Oh my goodness, I bet. Oh, then you're stuck with no power or anything. Lori says, I even packed a small suitcase. Well, and see, that just goes to show, that's what happens when we're planning on running away, right? We pack our things. We're like, we need snacks, we need water, we need, our phones nowadays. But I mean, even back then, there was little things that you probably wanted to take with you. What did we say earlier? Etch a sketch, things like that. Absolutely. Stricter laws start in Tennessee. Please do, Tony Fire. Oh my goodness, I got chills. They're multiplying. Town Chat. You better shape up. Now you're gonna get me singing. That's no good. Supposedly there's a CPS worker that is somehow related to CP or KP. Has anyone else heard that? I have heard that, but it's funny because they always try to make that connection like someone's related, and sometimes I just kind of get a little burned out with that, because I think we've all been related in this case somehow to people that we're not related to. But I did hear that, Town Chat. I did. Meatloaf. Lori. Oh yes, please use in my opinion. Thank you, Social Butterfly. That's funny. In some cases, I think CPS workers should face a charge too, like that was a catastrophic failure. Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, but they keep it so hush-hush, right? And it's so hard to get those records, and then they don't want anybody to know about what happened. They make you keep it confidential. They're mostly sealed. It's just a mess. Sammy says, I called my mom and asked her to pick me up from the sleepover, and she said, no, you're 40. That's not a sleepover. And those people are your husband and kids. I thought it was a meme when talking about running away. Sammy. That's funny. It's like that in Alabama, huh? Town Chat Cafe. Kathy says, in my opinion, I remember a CPS worker was related to TB. Okay, so that's what I heard, Kathy. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. That is really funny, Detroit. Sammy. Well, guys, I've been up here for 3 hours, and I love hanging out with you guys, but I think I'm going to turn in, and I will be on tomorrow, though, because it's Mother's Day, and, I'm a little lonely myself here. I'm in Florida, and, my mom passed in 2006, but I think we should have, a good live tomorrow and talk about, of course, these 2 cases we have here with Sebastian Rogers and Little Lily and Jack Sullivan. And I think that there's lots and lots to talk about, and we can all just kind of get together. I know that Mother's Day can be really, really tough for a lot of us, right? Maybe we lost our mothers or we lost a child. So I understand. And like someone said earlier, even fur babies count there too. So I think it's just a really great day to honor yourself as a mother if you are a mother, or honor your mother if you have one. honor your children for making you a mother. I think that that is something that's really important. And, do something special for yourself. If it's just, even if it's just like taking a hot bath and lighting some candles, putting on your favorite song, dancing a little bit, or just relaxing however you like. Sneak away and treat yourself to a movie if you want to do that. Just something really, really fun. And thank you, Tony Fire. And, just relax, kick your feet up, I remember when my daughter was little, we would do the coupons, a lot of times like for Father's Day and stuff like that. But one year she did it at school for me, and so I always thought it was cool that I would give her like a coupon or something. And she'd be like, oh, Mom, I'll do this, for you or something, breakfast in bed or something like that. And that was always so cute and fun. So I hope you all enjoy, especially if you have little ones, because they get older and then, then it's just not the same. But yeah, and I just hope you guys all, thanks Robini, thank you. Yeah, it's hard to believe it was so long ago now, Meg says I'm going to do what I want for Mother's Day. That's right. Yes, that's the best advice I can give. Do a little something for yourself, and let the kids, spoil you. I know a lot of times the little ones are so cute. Like I said, they'll have those little coupon books or, whatever. Or if they made you something, like that was the most fun. When they make their little thing at school and they bring it home and then they give it to you, it's like, oh, I just miss that so much. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, thank you for keeping me company, everyone. It was a great live and I'm home safe. Yay, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Safe and sound. Wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. Much love to all. Oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad you made it home safe, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. And Detroit says, my mom used to tell me that I was grounded for life. After I got married, she said, did you think I was kidding? That's a good one, Detroit. That's so cute. That was a funny show too. I don't know if you guys ever used to see that or ever watch that show, Grounded for Life. It's like a silly little show about an Irish Catholic family. It's funny though. Yeah, Social Butterfly says, thank you all for being here tonight. We appreciate you all. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers. Yes, yes. Thanks, Social Butterfly. That's so nice. You guys are so awesome. Kathy says, Lady Freedom, I know without facts, it's just hearsay. Yes, exactly. It is. Or if someone else says it and we heard it from them, all hearsay. I thought that was cute in the Johnny Depp trial when he explained what hearsay was. I thought that was really cute. He's like, I've been paying attention, Town Chat Cafe says, I'm even a temporary foster mom, aka Grandma Texas, to a cat I am fostering. Aw, he loves it here. He is so spoiled and loved here. Oh, how sweet. I love that. I love cats. I love cats. I Am Two Bear says, mine still come and raid the fridge. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'll be able to see my daughter here really, really soon. She's just so busy, and she does internships for college and stuff like that. So it's like I'm always like bugging her, when are you gonna come? Because I know she loves it down here. So, but yeah, pretty soon, I hope. Tony Fire says, H2O, Mother's Day morning, hot massages from mine, and gift delivered. Breakfast, Mr. Delivery. Aw, Tony, that's great. Aw. Lori says, I've left comments for Mr. Chris, but he doesn't take me up on my offer since he's such a tough guy. Oh my goodness. Well, and I do have a little bit from when he was on the panel. I think it was Granny's Watching that we haven't really gone over, and I just only had the clip. So we can always do some of that tomorrow too. But we'll mix it up. We'll make sure it's interesting, and it'll be fun. It'll take your mind off of a good day or bad day. Lori says, I hope everyone has a great day no matter what you do or who you are with. Oh, how sweet. Yes, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Perfectly Perfect Boy Mom says, "Aw, Mother's Day," or "Happy Mother's Day to even the pet moms. You're special too." Aw, that's so sweet. Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, I'm a pet mom too because I got Django over here. So, but you know, it's not the same. I'm just saying, I think it's so cute. All the little Mother's Day gifts, or like the little plants they'll like plant at school and they'll bring it home. Oh, it's just so adorable. Detroit Rock City says, "Love you all. You made my Mother's Day." Aw, thank you, Detroit. Happy Mother's Day, girl. Thank you. That was one heck of a trial. I watched the whole thing. Kathy, they had a really good like Netflix special too, that I watched, and it was really, really good. And it brought back so many memories, like the what is the mega pint? Oh my goodness. Oh, that was a heck of a trial. That was a good one. They really busted out the defense with the metadata. That's when I learned about metadata. Was the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. Okay, I will, Tony Fire. Did you send it to me in the email? I need a whole day to do my emails again. I've been so bad. I've been trying to click on ones. People have been sending me quick style and everything. But I will. I will do that. Email. Definitely look at the email. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I love you all very, very much. Happy Mother's Day. I will see you tomorrow. And let's pray for Sebastian Rogers and for Lily and Jack Sullivan. Hopefully we'll get some answers. Praying for a Mother's Day miracle. Thank you all so, so much.